Hey guys, welcome back. Let's walk you through an understanding of Photoshop. Photoshop is an insanely powerful tool that if you go through and you do the things required in this project and in these homework lessons, you are going to dramatically improve your value both as a content creator as well as somebody that can use powerful tools, professional tools to be able to create great pieces of content and artwork. So the beautiful thing is that Adobe has created some incredible tutorials under the help menu called HandsOn Tutorials. Go to the help menu, click on HandsOn Tutorials, pause this video if you need to, but those are going to pop up here. And you can always hit the home button if you're missing them, or you can hit the back button, but you can always get back by help hands-on tutorials. And that's going to show you all these tutorials that we can walk through. Now, the beauty of them is that they are step by step. They'll walk you through, they'll guide you on where to click. And if you go through these, I can tell you personally, 15 years ago when my son was born, I had a month of paternity leave, and I realized I was creating products at that time, DVDs that taught information that wasn't available on DVDs yet on recording and mixing. But I had that month, and I thought, what skill would help me in creating and being able to sell these things? And one of the things that I didn't have was any skill with graphic editing or creation. So I took 1 month and I spent 2 hours a day, and every day I went through a series of Photoshop tutorials just to give me the basics, the understanding, so I could navigate and at least create something. Even though I don't think of myself as a visual, like artistic creator, or at least I never had before, but that 1 month of time in Photoshop has given me enough skills to be able to create every website graphic, every product graphic, everything I've ever needed. And even if there was something I had in my mind, or I found an example of somebody else's that I thought, oh, that's what I want, then I had the skills after that 1 month to be able to go and at least rough out or build something that worked really well. But as a result, it also became something that then, if there was something that was outside of my ability, I already had a strong idea of what to communicate with the graphic designer and how to get them to create what it was I wanted. And I knew what tools were possible. So that's the skill that you're going to walk away with at the end of this, so that you can go out and you can create any graphic that you need, or be able to communicate with a designer so that you get exactly what you want. So step one, we're going to make sure, since we're going to end up putting these on a blog post, to go over to your site that you've created in Wix, get into your site, and you need to go to your dashboard. And once we're here in our dashboard, we're going to create a new blog post. Now, this is not new news to you, so I've got this here. I can go to blog, I can go to posts, and then when it loads, I'm going to go ahead and create a new post. In the meantime, I'm going to Command Tab back over to Photoshop and click on the orientation tutorials. Now you see we've got 5 orientation tutorials, a bunch for creative effects, for photo editing, and there's so many more out there. So I'm going to click on this orientation tutorial and click on the very first one, Get to Know the App. It's going to tell me to start the tutorial, and I'm going to click Start. Now, before I do anything else, what I want to be able to see in these posts, let's create a new post, is your before and your after work, so I can see what you've done. So I'm going to call this one the orientation tutorials, Photoshop orientation, and we're ready to go. So now that I've got this here, I need to be able to copy and paste this entire Photoshop page, so that, or this entire Photoshop interface, over into my Wix so I can see what I started with. The shortcut for this is Shift Control Command 4. And what that does, it turns your mouse into this little crosshair, and you can use the space bar. When you hit the space bar now, it turns it into a camera. And the beautiful thing is, it's going to take one screenshot of everything that's highlighted blue. So that was Shift Control Command 4, gives you the crosshairs, then hit the space bar, and that will turn your crosshairs, instead of selecting just a piece, it'll turn it into the camera and it'll grab the whole screen. So I'm going to click on that. That screenshots it, copies it to my clipboard, and now I can Command Tab back over to my Photoshop orientation blog post, and I can paste it right in. Isn't that easy? So much easier. So now I can see what I started off with. Now pop back over to here, and what we've got, it says, let's work with layers in the layers panel. So this first couple of tutorials is going to show us, what are all these boxes? Why does this the line change here at the top? What are these tools on the side or down here at the bottom? So working with layers in the layers panel, it says these layers over here, and you can see that these things are all in little individual boxes. There's tabs here that you can switch. You notice if I'm trying to click out of it, it's highlighting this in blue saying, pay attention to layers panel. And I've got this little blue instruction that says panels are an important part of the interface. The layers panel is one of the most essential. You can use the layers panel to reorder layers, turn them on and off, create new layers, and more. So great. Click next to continue. Do notice if you move your mouse over it, while it's trying to point you where to go with this little blue line, I'm just going to click next, like it says, and let's start to learn. So drag the flowers layer above the woman layer. So I can see this flowers layer, I can see this woman layer, circle, sky, and there's a variety of things we can do. Number one, try clicking on the different layers, and you'll see that that selects different layers, and it also puts this little box around them. So it says drag the flowers layer above the woman layer. So make sure you click here in the empty space. It's selected now, and I can click and I can drag, and it says release it when you see the blue lines. So you see this blue line right here? Fantastic. So I've clicked, I've dragged, and now it has moved the flowers above. Fantastic. Click next to continue. So now those flowers are in front of the woman in the picture. Now it says click the eye to the left of the woman layer to turn the layer off. Okay, so here's the woman layer. There's the eyeball. And I'm going to click on that, and you see it hides the layer with the woman. Okay, this all makes sense as well. So we've got layers of things we can turn on and off. Great. And click next. Now it says, let's understand the toolbar. The toolbar over here is all sorts of tools. Now, don't be afraid. You don't need to learn every single one of them. I don't know what most of them do, but I know enough. So in this case, get acquainted with the toolbar. Photoshop is a lot of tools. So when we've moved over this, you will notice sometimes that if you click around too much, you kind of lose that next step. I don't know why that's the case, but Adobe just needs to build this tutorial a little bit better. But you can also either just restart the tutorial if you need. You've already got the screenshot of your starting point. So worst case scenario, if somehow it gets away. What I do like to do is if you simply go back to the previous step, a lot of times you can click next, and then that blue bar will come back, the blue box telling you where to go. So it says the toolbar is one of the most important parts of the interface. These tools select, reposition, edit, etc. Let's check out a few key tools. Click next to continue. So you can see if you hover your mouse over them that some of them, you can tell right now this selected one is this eyedropper tool because it's darker gray around it. So if I click on any of these others, you see that that's now the tool selected. Click through a couple of those tools real quick. Pause the video if you need to, just so you can try clicking on tools. But one thing you will notice is the icon itself. If you click and hold down, each one of these has a tiny little arrow, tiny little arrow in the corner. So if you click and you hold down on it, then you see that you've actually got the option to change to multiple types of that tool. So for example, if I want to select a square on the screen, you can see I've got this rectangular marquee tool, and it even has little tooltips showing me selecting a square. But if I click and I hold down, I see I could also select a circle. And if I hover my mouse over this, it's going to give us a nice little example of what that looks like. So you can see it selecting a circle. So this is a beautiful thing about Photoshop. When you hover over the tools, it'll even give you an idea of what they do. This is fantastic. So I'm going to come over and click next. And as instructed, and it says now select the zoom tool from the bottom of the toolbar. If you can't, it's because it's already selected. Well, it's not dark gray. I clicked a few other things. So it says click this tool, then click next. So I click this and it says, let's zoom in on the flowers. So I'm going to zoom in on the flowers by clicking, and you see it zooms in. Now, if you click and you drag right, it zooms you in more. If you click and you drag left, it zooms you out. There's also keyboard shortcuts for this. Command plus zooms you in, Command minus zooms you out. So Command plus zooms us in, Command minus zooms us out. Try that. Command plus zooms us in, Command minus zooms us out. And finally, Command 0 will zoom us all the way out to where we can see the entire screen. Very cool. So we've zoomed in on the flowers. Let's do it one more time, and then click next to continue. Boom. Now it says select the eyedropper tool. This tool allows you to sample colors from the image. So it hovers over the eyedropper tool, and when I click it, if you click and hold down, let's make sure that we're using the eyedropper tool, because maybe yours accidentally got left on the sample color tool, and then it won't work. So if you click and hold down on this, look specifically for the tool that it tells you to do. Now you'll notice it also has shortcuts over here. Now you notice the icons are just different enough that until you've used this a lot, it can be very easy to select the wrong tool. So in our case though, I just want to click and hold down, make sure I have the exact eyedropper tool so that we're going to get the functionality we expect. Now it's got these shortcuts. Why do they all say I? Well, depending on how your preferences are set, when I tap the I key, it'll actually cycle through all the different tools. Now you don't see any difference now. The I key, my preferences are set so that you have to hold the Shift key down. And when you hold the Shift key down and you tap the I key, you see that that changes. So the Shift key will let you quickly cycle through them the more you get to know the tools if you need to switch between different kinds. So, but for now, I'm going to click and hold down my mouse, make sure eyedropper is selected, and do the next step. Use the eyedropper to select a bright yellow color from the flower. It'll change your foreground color. So right now, my foreground color is black. So I just changed that real quick. But if I click with my eyedropper tool and I drag around, you see it shows me what color is directly under that eyedropper. So I'm going to find one that is nice and bright yellow. There's one right there, and I let go. And you see that that has changed with the eyedropper. It let me select a yellow color. That way I could then paint with that color or do other things with that color. It lets me easily sample colors from an image and reuse them. Now it says click next to continue. It says now double click the hand tool to fit the image on the screen. So if you double click it, that resets. That is the same as the Command 0 tool. So Command 0 will resize you the same as double clicking on the hand tool. Great. So the hand tool lets you pan around the image like this little icon shows. You can click learn more if you want to learn more about it, but it lets us drag it around. You can also do that if you've zoomed in using just your mouse scroll wheel, or if you're on a trackpad, you can simply put 2 fingers on the trackpad and scroll around. That's the same as using the hand tool to physically click and drag. All right, click next. Now it says access tool options in the options bar. So when you select different tools, you're going to see this bar up top change with different parameters for that tool. Don't be afraid. We're just going to learn to use the ones that we need along the way. So it says the options bar provides multiple settings for each tool, things you can turn on or off. So it'll change depending on which tool is selected. So let's click next to continue. And it says select the brush tool from the toolbar. Okay, so we come back to here, we look for the brush, and I do want to double check that it's actually the brush, because if somebody was using Photoshop before you and they accidentally switched it to the pencil tool, you might be looking for it and say, I don't see that tool. So I'm going to click and hold down on that and make sure that I've got the brush tool selected, or the B key will select that as well. And you notice I've clicked around a little too much, so it suddenly has kind of lost its place. I'm going to come back over here, click previous, and then click next again. And that'll pick me back up. So it says the options bar, blah, 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 click next to continue. Here we go, I click next. Now select the brush tool. I select the brush tool, and then it changes all of these settings up here, parameters for what our tool is doing. Okay, very cool. Now, if you don't get a next button, and this does happen in these tutorials on occasion, I find clicking away, clicking a different brush, and then clicking back to the brush is going to give me, like, let me proceed. I don't know why their tutorial system has that little weirdness. I guess they don't want you to explore while you're going through the tutorial, but I find it helpful. So you can always just click previous and then go through the last couple steps. So it says click right here to open the brush preset picker to the left of the folder. So there's the folder, here's the brush preset picker. If I click on that, now I can choose how big this brush is. So you can see I've gone through this tutorial already. So your size might be different, but it says set the size to about 500 pixels, 500. And when I hit return, you see it's a 500 pixel brush, and click next to continue. Next we go. And it says change the painting mode from normal to dissolve. You can tell I just went through this, but your mode right here might say normal. But if I click on this and now go to dissolve, we're now going to paint a little bit of a sunshine in here. So I'll click next again. And it says, we want to click next, put it all together. I feel like I missed one. No, I didn't. Select the layer circle. So I'm going to select this circle layer. And what that means is, now that I've selected this circle, if I was to start painting, it would actually paint it directly on that circle. I'm going to undo with Command Z, so I lose that painting, but you can see that it will paint on the layer that you have selected. So if you click on it, you see it selected here. Now it says make a new layer. So we're going to make another layer we can paint on without painting directly on our orange circle. So it says create a new layer at the bottom of the layers panel. There's the plus. Click on that plus. It says brush in the center of the orange circle without touching the edges. So I'm going to click and paint around, and that's going to give this kind of a nice, bright, sunshiny sort of feel. Great. Now it says click to the empty box to the left of the woman layer to reveal that image. So here's the woman layer. There's the little empty box with the eye icon. We're missing it right now. So I click that, and now we've got her over a nice, bright sunshine. Very cool. So I'm going to click next again, and it says select the layer sky so the layer is active and ready to edit. So Command 0 real quick, that's going to zoom us back out so I can see what I'm doing. Wow, we've added this cool sunshine effect behind her. So now select the sky layer, click on the sky layer, and now when we paint anything on or we edit, it's going to affect that sky layer in the background. So it says select the spot healing brush tool, and we use this to hide unwanted items, like these couple of birds in the image we actually want to get rid of. So I'm going to come over here, click on it, but again, I want to click and hold down and make sure that it's actually choosing the spot healing brush tool, not the healing brush, not the patch tool. You can see they've got different icons, but the spot healing brush tool. So make sure that that's the one that's selected. It'll have a little square here beside it. Now it says click to open the brush preset picker again. Great, we're going to change our brush. I'll click on that. It says drag the slider to about 100 pixels. Again, you can tell I've been working on this already because my pixels are already set. And then click next. I'll click next here. And it says drag over the two birds and watch them be replaced with sky. So since the sky layer is selected, this spot healing brush tool, you can actually just paint it over the things. And what the spot healing brush does is it pulls in pixels from around and uses its artificial intelligence to replace or eliminate those little things. Go ahead and try it now. I'm going to hide this little bird and boom. Because I had the sky layer affected, it just spot healed those little pieces. Now I'm going to click next and it says make some Photoshop magic. Great. Click next. And bam, I'm done with this tutorial. So beautiful. We've got a nice solid difference. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot and put it on our blog post. Shift, Control, Command, 4 gives us our crosshairs here on the screen. Spacebar turns it into a screenshot of the whole window. And boom, I'm going to click this. And now you can see I've got my whole image on the screen. I've copied it. And now I can come over, go right below my last photo and paste it in. So I can very easily see the difference. There's a sun with no sunshine. Here we've got the sunshine. There's the birds. Now the birds are gone. So I have made this wonderful change. Now I want to do this final thing. I'm going to go to File and let's save this right now. So I'm going to choose Save As. And it gives you the option initially here to save to the Creative Cloud. I'm going to save this and I'm just going to call this 1450 last name first name PS tutorial 1. Actually, let's just give it the name of the tutorial itself. Get to know the app. Great. So now it'll be able to find it. Now I want to save this on my computer. So I'm going to choose on my computer. And I know they're going to try to get me to save it to Creative Cloud. That's not what I want. I want to save on my computer. I'm probably going to choose Don't Show Again. I've got my Save As. Let's go ahead and make a folder on our hard drive. So if you can't see it right here, you've got a little arrow that you can click and that will expand this out. I'm going to save them on my desktop right now because I've got a space for it. So I've made a new folder, 1450 Adam Nathan PS Tutorials, and create. And so now that is the folder there that you can see that my Get to Know You Photoshop document is going to be saved. Fantastic. It's being saved as a Photoshop file. So I can click Save. I'm going to maximize compatibility. Say OK. And now over on my desktop, you can see there's my Photoshop tutorials. And here is that Photoshop document. And that's this file type, PSD. So this is a complete Photoshop document with, and you can even see that here in the kind, that I could reopen and continue to edit in the future. All right, so that is step 1 on these tutorials. I've got my blog post created so I can see my before and my after, and I'm feeling pretty good. So now I can just continue to work through the next tutorials, like getting to know layers. So that is a quick overview of how you're going to go through this process, including copying and pasting your before and after images into your blog post. And of course, once you're done, don't forget to publish your blog post so that you can then copy the link and post it in to turn it in. All right, so that is a quick walkthrough of using the tutorial sections here in Photoshop, as well as how you can show your work before and after. We'll continue on with more of these in class and on your own time. See you soon.